Hey, welcome to LIFT. Good to see you again. LIFT stands for Living in Frustrating Times. And is this not a frustrating time for all of us? Kind of weird time. So we're going to take the next 45-ish minutes and just have some fun and discuss something that's pretty frustrating now with life. Hey, we're with Youth for Christ. I'm the Juvenile Justice Ministry Director. And Youth for Christ is all over this area, including probably the area you're from. So in here, we're in Hicksville, we're in Stryker, we're in Archibald. We have clubs for teenagers in Paulding County. We're in Defiance, and we're looking at other areas to expand too. But our goal is just to give a safe and fun place for teens to hang out. And of course, we do want to share what's important to us as well. We don't force anything on you, which is pretty cool. We just want to provide a safe place for you guys to just be you. And so today we're going to be talking about hey, good seeing ya. We're back in the garage. Today we're going to learn how to do a concrete sidewalk using this mold so we can create like pavers to walk on. This is going to be a fun project. Now go ahead and get your boots on, get your work gloves on, get what other supplies you might need. Oh, okay, we won't do this time. Hey, today with the beautiful weather, we're going to use this chainsaw and cut down some trees. They may be little trees, but they're dead, so I need to get rid of them. So I'm going to show you how to use a little chainsaw like this. Oh, wait a minute. You guys might know how to use this better than I do. Today we're going to talk about bird watching and the different kinds of birds and how important this is a skill that you need in life, especially when life is frustrating. You know, I really don't know my birds. Maybe this isn't a good topic after all. So as you can see today, we've got a little different environment going on here. Welcome to my office, and here is where I do a lot of my planning and thinking and praying for you guys. And so today, it's going to be a little different. I'm going to do my best to keep things up here where you can see it. And just be patient too, because this is going to be hard to do without you right here in the room with me. But you've got Frank, and Frank, this is what we're doing today. This is his expertise. He is very good at what we're going to do. Take this time right now, Frank, and just share how good you are with sewing. Before you all check out and go, no way, I'm not going to sew, we really want to take time to go over basic sewing. This is sewing that I believe, Frank, you were in the military, so you correct me if I'm wrong. You learn how to do basic things to get by. And so today, we just want to talk a little bit about how to sew a button back on. How often has a button fallen off of a shirt or pair of pants or something, and first reaction might be, well, I'm just going to throw it away and forget this. You know, sewing a little tiny button back on, I thought I had a button back here, but I don't yet. Sewing a little tiny button on is really not a big deal. It doesn't take time. It's just having the right things around so you can get it done. Now, these next items you might not have sitting around your house, and maybe you do, but it's not a big deal to go to the store, and I'm not sure where you can, sometimes in the checkout lane, but definitely in sewing areas, you can find kits that have a needle in there and different colored threads and just the basic things that you would need. And that's all we need here for what we're doing today, except for scissors. Scissors will probably not be included in a kit unless you get a more expensive one. but if you have a sharp knife to cut thread with, or you just have scissors, it's great. The thing is, though, you want to make sure that you have a sharp edge when you're dealing with cutting thread, and your thread will come on a spool like this. It could be a smaller one. Let me grab another one. See how that's much smaller? These are typically what come in the kits that you buy in the store. And I think the kit I bought with this one had maybe 10 different color threads in it. But let me tell you, if you want to just go out and buy things separately instead of the kit, black, white, and maybe a brown, kind of a middle brown color are probably the only colors you really need. So in your sewing kit, when you get one, make sure you've got thread. You always have sharp scissors around. You're also going to need a needle. I just pulled the wrong needle out. I have a needle here that's meant to go in my sewing machine, and that's the one I pulled out. So here, you make sure you have one of these. And I don't know, who of you have used these needles? Notice on right up here, I'm trying to turn it so I know what I'm looking for. I don't know if you can see. It's got a little tiny opening there. Are we going to get it? Too close, isn't it? Can you kind of see it there? Well, either way, there's an opening there, and it's only meant for thread to go through. So thread's pretty small, and let me show you how small it is. I'm on a tangent here now. I'm supposed to be telling you what you need in your kit, but there's how thin the thread is. It's pretty tiny. I put that up to my face. I mean, it's pretty tiny. So think about maybe a little thicker than hair, but pretty close though. So in your we'll call it our button kit, our quick button repair kit. Make sure you've got buttons, you've got a needle, and you've got thread and some scissors or something really sharp to cut. And again, you want this to be sharp because you don't want this end that you cut to be frayed. So all the little pieces going every which way, like split ends on hair, because then it will be way harder to get it to go through here, the eye of the needle. And trust me, that's frustrating when it doesn't get through there. They do make these things that will probably come in your sewing kit, and that these can help you with threading your needle. Well, and a little container. I think having a little container like this is a great thing to keep everything together in one place. This is actually the one I took to college with me, and I kept this in my dorm because, you know, buttons fall off. And so this was a handy little container where I knew where to go to get things. And you can use a plastic bag, you can use an old shoe box, you can use whatever you want to keep stuff in. It's just so you know where it's at. Well, you do have to set up for this big project of sewing a little button on. So the setting up time. Make sure you have your favorite chips nearby. Make sure you have your favorite pop nearby, or whatever snack. And then make sure you're comfortable. So sit in a reclining chair, rocking chair. Maybe you like sitting under a tree. Maybe you like sitting on your bed. Maybe you want to go down by the water. Make sure you're comfortable. And of course, have the TV on, or playing music, or no playing video games because your hands are going to be busy with sewing a button on. But make sure you're comfortable, because if you're not comfortable, you're probably not going to sew this one little button back on. So, as you can tell, a needle, the thread, all of that is fairly small. So for me to show you how to do this, I've decided to be, I guess, creative, and I made my own paper button. And this will be hard because I don't have a needle to represent a tiny little needle. So I'm asking you to use your imagination. I will talk through this, but please use your imagination here. I know you guys are bright enough to understand what I'm saying, so we'll progress here. I've got this paper button. I've got the shirt here that needs a button. So first of all, we're going to take the, find the spot where the button fell off. For this shirt, I don't have a shirt right now that needs a button. So we're going to use our imagination here. And let's say this is the spot that needs a button. You will be able to tell the fabric will be kind of pulled and look a little bit differently. So make sure your new button lines up, or you've got your old button because when it fell off you were able to get it right away. Often that doesn't happen though. But line that button up with the old spot, and that's important. Why? What's on the other side of the shirt? Yeah, so we got to be able to fit those together the right place. So make sure they're lined up right. Stick your button on there, and we will run we've cut our thread. I'm using yarn, so this is your imagination here. This is my thread, and I've already cut it off the little spool. So one end of it, I'm going to tie a knot. I fold it over the piece here, the thread. I fold it over like that, so I have a good size knot. And then I make sure to tie the knot inside where the 4 layers of thread are. And then there's my knot. So, and then this end, maybe I already did this, but on this end, I will take my hopefully unfrayed thread and run it through the eye of the needle. Remember I showed you that one end that had just a tiny little opening? I gotta get my glasses out. Well, I gotta get my glasses out, do a lot anymore, but I've got to make sure my glasses are on to get it through that little eye. So you run that through there, or you use this little thing. But we're not going to use this because I never use it actually, but I think it's good for us to know how this works, and then you can figure, if you get one of these, you can kind of figure out how it works. But because some kits might not come with that, I don't know. So you line up your thread. If it's got a little fraying going on, I'll lick it, and that'll kind of pull everything, not lick it, but put it in my mouth, and it'll pull the threads together so you have a nice end to run it through the needle of your eye. So now it'll kind of, it'll kind of lay over your needle like this. So you want just a little bit coming through, because when you start pulling this through the fabric and the button and stuff, you don't want to lose this end and have to rethread, because if you do, the more you do that, this will definitely get frayed. Easy way to around that, you just cut it off and just cut a little bit off and start again. And then I have my knot end down here. All right, and I got my button. So my button's all lined up on the shirt, and we are now ready to go. Got my button, got my shirt, I've got my needle with the thread going through it. I come on this side of the fabric, poke the needle through the shirt, and hopefully it lines up with the button until it does line, or the buttonhole until it does line up with the buttonhole. Until it pokes through there. As soon as it pokes through there, you can pull it through all the way through till your knot comes through. I'm making sure my knot's big enough for the hole. See, I'm not doing this to the shirt because I can't, because of how we're doing it. You'll have the fabric of the shirt to help hold it in place there. So now you take your needle and you still got your button on your shirt, you can go the opposite buttonhole, or you can do the one next to it. It doesn't matter. It so much doesn't matter. The last time the button patrol came around to make sure my buttons were shown on right, I didn't get a ticket. Are you serious? They don't have button control or button patrols. So as long as the button's on there and it's holding or staying in place, that's all that matters. It can look a little funky. It doesn't. I don't think anybody will ever notice if you even use purple thread on a white button, let's say, and your shirt is white. They might notice that, but either way, it doesn't need to be perfect. Remember, the goal here is to get the button on. All right, so I've poked my needle through the buttonhole, down through the material of the shirt as well, and so now I take my needle through the shirt on the other end. I look for the other buttonhole. This button that I made has 4 holes. Some buttons will have 2. I think most of them that we use have 4, and sometimes you'll have a button and then the loop, there's 1 loop on the back. So same idea as what you're doing here. You just keep running it through the loop. That one you'd go the same direction every time. All right, so I've poked it through the material, through the buttonhole. I brought it up through. I pulled my needle all the way through. Now I've got, at this point, I only have 1 more buttonhole that's hasn't been run through, but we're not done there. Pull it through, push it through the fabric. Make sure you keep pulling it nice and snug each time. You don't have to pull real hard, just make sure it's snug. Again, go through the fabric, up through the buttonhole. At this point, I go back to the one I started with. Again, you don't need to, but that's just what I do. Pull it all the way through, diagonal across through the buttonhole. Again, imagination, there's a needle here. Pull it through the buttonhole, back through the fabric, nice and snug. Up through the fabric, through the buttonhole, grab the needle, pull. You will poke your finger a few times. That will happen. But it won't kill you. It just might startle you in the moment. So pull that snug again. Find another buttonhole. Push the needle through the buttonhole, through the fabric. Grab the needle on the other side. Again, we're going to go around again. We've gone around, looks like here, twice now. Let's go around again. Well, now we've done this a few times. I don't even know how many times. I just went through bunches of time. It's nice and snug on my shirt. I can tug on it. It feels good. My needle is hanging on the inside of the shirt right now. I think I'm done. Because like I just said, I did a little pull here. Again, you don't have to pull real hard. Just enough to see if it's on there snug enough. You can go as many times as you want. You just don't want to go too few times. I mean, if you want this piled up with thread, sticking way out and looking really dorky, that's up to you. But you don't need to do that. So now the other side, using your imagination again. Remember, this button is attached to the shirt, but for what we're doing, it's not. So now you have your needle hanging on this side, and you've got a little more of a mess back here. See that? This is the back. That's the front. See how the back... Who cares? Who cares what the back looks like? So now we need to figure out how to end this so it's not just hanging back here. And of course, we're done with the needle pretty much at this point. But go ahead and leave the needle on. But how did we start? Before we started threading the button on, how did we start? What did we do to the thread? We tied a knot on it so it wouldn't go through the fabric. And if we didn't have a knot, and when you pulled the needle and then the thread through the fabric, it would have gone right on through the fabric. So that's why we need that knot there. So we want to knot it on the other end. So what you could do, take your needle on the back side. Again, you'd be seeing fabric. You wouldn't be seeing the back of the button. You'd be working with the fabric. So sometimes I'll take my needle and I'll run it through my other threads that I've made here, this mess, and just run it through a few times. Just one section, not the whole thing, just one little section. Or even this loop right here. I'll have that loop from how I made the knot. I'll take my needle and I'll run it through there, and then we need to knot this off. So it's easy at this point with needle still on there, because depending on how much thread you have left, and remember how small the thread. I'm working with yarn. This is way bigger. So thread is pretty tiny. So this way, after I've run my needle and thread through that original loop, I can run it through here, and I can, it's hard to do when I'm trying to hold this so you can see it, and I can tie this to my loop. Tie it off, knot it off, however you can, whatever works. Again, you just want to make sure that button's not going anywhere. Not too hard, is it? So I just want to end with this. It's not a hard thing to do. It's sometimes we're just lazy and we don't want to do it. That's what sometimes happens with me. I'll pull a shirt out and I want to wear it, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's missing a button. So either I'll go, depends on where the button's missing, I'll go ahead and wear it, or I'll just kind of toss it aside and get something else. And instead of wearing these things that we have available, I just let it go. And maybe you're the same way, or maybe you just throw it away. I don't have a button. So that's why think ahead when you buy a new shirt, or even if you're a shirt that gets ruined with I don't know, painting, or something happens, you throw up on yourself, I don't know. Keep your buttons, cut them off, keep them, put them in whatever you decide to put buttons in. I had that little container. Now I've got a whole drawer that I keep sewing type stuff in. But with where you're at now, it could be as simple as an envelope. It could be a baggie, just whatever works, and where you know where it's at. And remember to keep in there thread. You only need the basic colors, black, white, maybe brown, but definitely black and white. You need a needle. I would have a couple needles because they're easy to lose. And you don't want to lose those. So if you drop it, make sure you find it. You don't want to be the one to step on it, or a dog, or your cat, or your pet snake, whatever. You don't want those things to step on them and get injured. So make sure you pick that up. But it is a good idea to have at least a couple on hand. And then also, you want your scissors. Make sure you've got scissors around, or at least a sharp knife. And what else do we got? We've got your spare buttons. So your buttons, your thread, and scissors, and your needle. Those are really all you need. And again, you can go to a Walmart or a drugstore, I'm sure Dollar General, and get little kits that will have thread in it. This is actually, I believe, I don't think so now that I look at this, but you'll get a variety of colors in there. You'll get a needle. You'll get everything you need in there except for probably the scissors. I'm sure they do sell some kits with scissors, but again, that's going to cost you more. And most people have something sharp around the house to use. So why spend the extra whatever they're charging for a cheap little pair of scissors when you probably already have that around the house? So that's it on sewing. If you have any more questions about how to sew a button on, I'm sure Frank would love to help you and teach you. And thank you for your time. And I hope you don't feel that this was not valuable, because it really is. It's a tiny thing in life that, how frustrating it is to not have the buttons on your favorite outfit, or whatever makes you look good for that hot date that you're going to be going on. Yeah, it's pretty frustrating and irritating. And then it's more frustrating, in my opinion, when you throw it away and now you're like, oh, I gotta go buy a new shirt. and when it was an easy fix the whole time. It's way cheaper to go buy a little kit or even pick up a needle when you get paid 1 week, then go back and maybe get, remember, you only need 2 colors of thread. Go pick up more thread, and then that's all you really need, and then keep your buttons. So just a suggestion for life, and hope you had a good time. Glad we could be with you again, and I hope your lift, living in frustrating times, is made a little easier with just learning how to sew a button on.